Welcome to Fabulous Cartoons, and this is the story of the wonderful and very happy and very wise butterfly. His name was Sidney, yes, just like the Australian city. Sidney had a very small nose, but a happy little smirky smile on his face. Let me bring him into the centre. Sidney had a tiny bit of a gut because he did eat a bit, you know, as a butterfly, but he would always put his thumbs up and say, you know what, I'm having a fabulous time. Now, here we go. Sidney had little legs, but he had these huge boots, you see. He liked boots and often didn't do up his shoelaces, but he didn't care. No, he was not worried about that. And often he would get Motorcycling Weekly. Yes, here we are, because he loved that magazine. One of his favourites. Yes. And he had the most wonderful colours. Let me get here. He had the most wonderful colours on his wonderful, wonderful wings. Yes. These lovely colours here. They started with a brown. Oh yes, and there was a bit of brown here, which was lovely, and a bit of brown here, of course. And there was also other colours of gorgeousness. There's sort of an overall yellow here. Oh, sorry, excuse me, orange. Lovely orange on Sidney. Sidney orange. It was his own tailor-made colour. Yes. Anyway, let's say the story. Well, once upon a time, Sidney was reading Motorcycle News, or Motorcycle Weekly, and looking at the new Kawasaki's, he's always wanted to get one, really. I don't know how he'll drive it, but he's thought, you know what, motorcycling's for me. And he could hear a strange noise in the background, a sort of squawking, or very disturbing, because he was just wanted to read quietly by himself. He had these lovely sort of dots here, you know, as some butterflies do. Yes, and actually his colours were, yeah, it was a lovely colour. It was a sort of tan colour. Yes, there he is. That's Sidney in his very best. Let's give him a little bit more there. Yes, he could hear this strange squawking noise in the distance. He thought, what is that? In fact, he said to himself, What is that noise? I'm trying to read, you know. And in his mind he was thinking of just the best bike he could ever get his hands on it, and had everything again, very fast and so forth. That was what he was thinking about, that particular motorbike there. Yes. Anyway, suddenly on his own branch, because as he was reading, he was actually reading on a branch, a lovely branch, which is, this is the branch, and Henry was here. He looked up, quite surprised with his little nose, and as he looked up, he saw a bird in the distance, squawking. Look, I saw right up there, that bird. Yeah, squawking away. I think the bird was shouting, I don't like jazz, something like that, but we won't get into that. Now, he was a little bit worried and he dropped his magazine. Unfortunately, the magazine fell all the way to the ground. Oh, dearie me, he thought. So, the bird got closer and closer, and it had a very angry look on his face, and made a squawking noise like, well, squawk, really? Yes, just like that. Angry, horrible, angry bird. What am I going to do, thought Sidney. Here I am reading, not upsetting anyone, and there's a squawky, horrible bird about to land on my branch. Yes. So, the bird landed, and Sidney looked him straight in the eye. Yes. What are you doing? What are you doing on my branch? He sort of raised his hands as if to say, what? What are you doing? The bird said, I am hungry. Yes, I'm very hungry, said the bird, with a strange beak. Yes, yes, and I am going to eat you, Sidney. How do you know my name? Well, I've been watching your cartoons. How do you know? Well, anyway, we won't get into that. Sidney said, look, I know self-defense. I know various forms of self-defense, and if you try and eat me, I shall defend myself. Ha 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 ha. That's 4 ha's in a row. Yes, said the bird. Ha 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 ha. I will eat you. I will eat you like I eat a simple sandwich. made of crisps and potatoes, crunchy but soft at the same time. Yes, that's how I will eat you. Right, said Sidney in a very positive voice. He was very much into positive thinking, strong attitude and no nonsense. Okay, you have forced me to defend myself, said Sidney, and thus I will defend myself. Sidney steadied himself, gritted his teeth. He had a few teeth, yes. He didn't eat sugar. No, sugar's bad for you. He stepped back and leaned. He leaned back on his branch, and he pulled out a shotgun. Yes, it was sawn off at the end, so it sort of blasted everywhere, really. And the bird looked down the barrel of the shotgun in a sort of worried way, as one would. "Squawk, oh dear," he said. Suddenly there was a terrible noise. And the bird blew up into a million little bits. "Well," said Sidney, "I'm sorry to have had to do that," he said, lifting up his little hands. "But what can you do? I'm not here to be eaten. I'm here to be a motorcycling champion, and I've got lovely wings. So, don't play with guns, kids. But if a big bird tries to eat you, just shoot him. Yes, where's my Motorcycle Weekly? Thank you for listening. Goodbye."